Yeah, in my mind, there was really no bad news coming out of Joel Wolfe yesterday. Now, he certainly said, yeah, you don't have to have a Japanese mentor on your team, a la Yu Darvish. It doesn't have to be on the West Coast. He's keeping his options open. But as you're listening to him talk, it certainly felt like the Padres, checked a lot of the boxes for what Roki Sasaki is looking for, specifically when he talked about what kind of market he'd want to play in the United States.
Do you think he would consider small to mid-market teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made that a smaller mid-market team might be more beneficial for him as a soft landing coming from Japan, given what he's been through. Sorry if I'm not doing this wrong. Given what he's been through and not having an enjoyable experience with the media, it might be, I'm not saying it will be, but I don't know how he's going to view it. It might be beneficial for him to be in a smaller market. But I really don't know how he looks at it yet because I haven't had a chance to really sit down and, discuss it with him in great detail.
All right, so I was listening to some of these comments yesterday during the Annie and Elston program, and I'll tell you what, if I heard that and I was the Dodgers or the Mets,
Yankees,
or the Yankees, I'd be a little nervous. And I didn't know some of the background. We've talked about Roki Sasaki a lot, but the fact that he had not had a great relationship with the media in Japan was not something I was really aware of. I kind of looked into it a little bit more, and his desire to come over to the United States and play has apparently made him the target of criticism over there. Like, hey, why don't you want to pitch here in Japan and be here in front of your Japanese fans? What's the obsession with going to America? And he's faced a lot of
Did they do that with Ichiro and you?
Ichiro and you stayed a little bit longer.
They're so
Yamamoto, they
revered.
stayed. This guy is, he's trying to buck the system by coming over early like Ohtani did. Ultimately, Ohtani is still beloved in Japan. They didn't end up hating him forever because he came over to play for the Angels. My guess is Roki Sasaki is going to be fine, but he may not want the the giant Japanese media scrutiny that would come from playing in Los Angeles or New York. It's already built in Los Angeles with Ohtani there.
How many in L.A.?
How many?
Like
what?
30 extra.
Oh yeah, the reporters.
Yeah,
it's a ton. Here in San Diego, there's like one or two that cover the Japanese players, Yu Darvish,
which would increase,
Yuki
right?
Matsui. They probably add another one or two, but it's never going to get to the level of
Ohtani.
2 dozen guys.
It's another press box. It's crazy.
Yeah. I tweeted yesterday, I won't even look at him. As a member of the media, if he comes here to pitch in San Diego, I won't even look at him. Go in the club when we go to the clubhouse 4 times a year. How you doing? Tip my hat and keep walking. You're not going to find a softer landing space than this market. We are the softest media on the planet. Everyone tells us all the time how soft we are. I'll wear it. And now, I want you all to apologize to us if we land Roki Sasaki. Okay? That is, I'm going to demand an apology for being soft media that, just likes to have fun and watch the team win.
I mean, once he's here, you can be as hard as you want.
I'm not going to
be.
For
now, though, please be very nice to Roki Sasaki.
I'm not. Why would I be mean? If he comes out and does what he's capable of doing, it's going to be great.
And you know what? And our Sammy Levitt took the bull by the horns and just he was there and asked Joel Wolfe specifically.
He's crushed it. Dude.
Is Padres, would they be a good fit?
Joel, considering his admiration for you, Darvish, relationship potentially with you, how would a team like, say, the San Diego Padres fit as a suitor?
I would assume that would be a team that he would seriously consider, but his relationship with Darvish is private between the two of them, and how much that will weigh on his decision making, we'll have to find out.
How open would he be to be playing with some of his former WPC teammates, whether it be Darvish or Yamamoto?
Is that an LA report?
That's a good question. Just a few years ago when I was representing Senga, one of the questions we heard from many teams, and then I heard it again with Yamamoto, was it an obstacle to signing the player by having other Japanese players on the team, or was it an attraction? and it's different for every single player. Each player is unique.
What's wrong with his mic?
How they feel about it, and I think it also matters on the player that is already on the team. How much do they reach out to other Japanese players? How are they perceived by this particular Japanese player? And it just varies player to player.
With Roki and his age, do you think it's more beneficial, or the attraction part of it? Is he leaning that way?
I think it could be.
It's a great agent, man. Great agent.
It could be to have an older player to help him, show him the ropes. But anyone that knows Roki Sasaki, this is one of the most driven, intense players I've ever known and been around. Incredibly hardworking, and I wouldn't say that he would necessarily need it to succeed. I think
he's in an interesting spot, and people are talking about it in the chat. This is a really interesting spot for an agent because your cut on Roki Sasaki is not going to be huge right now. This is the long game for an agent because the international bonus pool money, call it $6 million, $7 million tops. Yeah, I want to make sure that he's covered in endorsements and gets the attention he wants or the attention that he needs financially, but may not actually want, right? So it's a really interesting player that we're all talking about here. He did mention, too, again, the difficulty he had with some of the Japanese media and how it affected his mental health. And I do want to point to something that happened here last year when Yu Darvish needed to be away from the team for a while. I saw somebody, and it's a guy we know, yesterday, was like, man, Yu Darvish was, come here to San Diego. Yu Darvish was gone for 3 months, and the morning show didn't even ask where he was. No, we didn't. Because it's when they say he's got a personal matter he's tending to, it's so dumb of us to speculate.
Were we the only ones that didn't ask that?
No, I don't think so.
Anybody asked.
No, and again, it's the respect that you earned throughout his career. This isn't, I wasn't worried about Yu Darvish sitting in a hotel room with a needle in his arm or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like was not a concern.
I think most of us, if not all of us here in San Diego, had enough respect for Yu Darvish
Correct.
to know that whatever he was dealing with was important
And personal and private.
and that the Padres were handling it the best way that they thought, and we didn't need to dive into that.
Yeah, I was not about to go start asking questions of the front office. So what's really going on? Because if anybody wanted that business to be known, they would have made it public.
Yeah,
And
some would say that makes you a bad reporter, a bad journalist.
reporter,
that you're not curious. But I do believe that there are certain lines that
you don't
cross.
AJ Cassavell, Dennis Lin, Kevin Acee, nobody was writing about it because nobody was stupid enough to search that story out.
Yeah.
I do want to serve the interest of the public and the fan, but I didn't see why having the intimate details of what you was going through would service anything other than satisfying people's curiosity, of what was going on in someone's private life.
I know for a fact there were people employed by the Padres that had no idea what was going on.
100%.
They kept
it was
very, very tightly.
As they have done a good job of doing lately in that organization. I will give them a lot of credit for that, much to our chagrin in a lot of cases, right? They've been pretty tight-lipped. That said, if you're Roki Sasaki and you do have a conversation with Yu Darvish can speak to how much they helped him and valued his mental health by letting him be away from the team. And again, you doing the honorable thing of not getting paid while he was gone. I mean, the whole thing is it sets up a little bit too nicely right now for a fit for Roki Sasaki here.
So clearly, Joel Wolf wants to be careful and not put words in his client's mouth. A client that he doesn't know particularly well yet. This is a fairly new relationship with him coming over to the United States. So you heard a lot of hedging, but you could read between the lines. You don't jump out and say, I think a smaller to mid-market team could actually be a really good fit if you don't believe that. And I heard Annie and Elston talking about it yesterday, seeing in our chat. You can't trust what the agents are saying. They have an agenda. They're trying to get the biggest deal possible. That's not the case here. The money is not – there's not going to be a difference in the money. He actually said, honestly, the difference between the bonus pools, which will be, the Dodgers have about $5 million, the Padres have about $6 million. Some teams can get up to $7 million. He said it's not going to be a factor at all. Nope. Now, should the Padres maximize their bonus pool, trade for some more money, and – make
Yes.
it. Yeah, I think they probably should try to make the biggest offer possible, but ultimately that's not going to be the decision. So you're not playing teams against each other here. They can't offer anything extra. There's really no incentive to be dishonest in this situation. You want to be careful and not, speak out of school, out of turn about a client that you don't want to offend. But otherwise, what I take what he is saying is fairly face value and accurate, that he probably wants a smaller market team or a mid-market team that's not going to have the bright lights and big glare of an LA or a New York. That's not best for him. While having a Japanese player isn't required, it might be a pretty good idea to have someone like that there. I mean, a lot of the signs I heard yesterday at least point in the direction of the Padres being a very attractive option.
It does. I tend to feel like that's what any agent would want you to think. I do believe in agent speak. There's a method to everything that they do and everything they say. Everything is calculated. Is it out of the realm of possibility that, let's say, the Dodgers have $6 million to spend and they hear that and they panic and they go and trade for more money and now it's $7 million offer? You know what I mean?
But I think I do believe him when he says the fit needs to be right. The media situation needs to be right. I do believe him when he says that because, again, he's just gone through it, right? And I can see if you're Roki Sasaki wanting to say, yeah, I don't need 30 people following me to my locker every freaking day, man, asking me, what I did, what I didn't do. Dennis Lin said in his piece in The Athletic, too, then again, despite public rhetoric, the Padres do not view themselves as prohibitive favorites for Sasaki. Preller is known for his relentless concoction of contingency plans, and in the meantime, the market for starting pitching is really moving. So
that shows me that the Padres aren't foolish.
Yeah.
If they were considering themselves like, we got him in the bag, that'd be the worst. That would be the worst tactic at this moment. It would seem arrogant to think that you're definitely getting him, and it would also show me that you're not, considering the possibility that you don't get him. They need to be looking at other avenues as well. No one can count on Roki Sasaki coming to their team at this point. Padres do need to be pursuing all avenues, and they will. Chris in the chat says, I don't think the Padres should put all their baskets in on Roki, eggs in that one basket. They will put everything they have toward getting Roki Sasaki, but that won't prevent them from doing anything else. It's not they're not spending money on Roki Sasaki essentially. So there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing to be lost in the pursuit of Roki Sasaki.
There's a lot of good fits for him. If that's really what he wants. If a mid-market team,
Seattle,
Cleveland, Chicago, Chicago's just a big market, but there's good fits for him. That aren't just here. So I'm not going to let myself get too excited about it, but hey, man, if you want a soft landing, Roki, I got you, dude. He did say he doesn't like people that are very verbose, so we're going to have to put a ball gag on our verbose friend over here.